The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are warning of increased threats to government officials and law enforcement following the search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home last week. The FBI and DHS released a memo to law enforcement nationwide Friday saying they, quote, have observed an increase in violent threats posted on social media against federal officials and facilities, including a threat to place a so-called dirty bomb in front of FBI headquarters and issuing general calls for civil war and armed rebellion. For more on this, Nicole Sganga joins us now. She's CBS News' Homeland Security and Justice reporter. Nicole, we appreciate the time. You've been reporting on this story extensively, quite well. What more can you tell us about the bulletin and some of the specific threats it mentioned?
Well, thank you so much, Scott. Good to be with you. Now, that bulletin went out to state and local law enforcement partners late Friday night, early Saturday morning, around 12:45 a.m. And senior law enforcement officials that I speak with said the impetus behind pushing out that threat bulletin was, in fact, the specificity of some of the calls to violence they were seeing online. What you referenced earlier, that dirty bomb, that threat of a improvised explosive before FBI headquarters. It was threats like that that convinced law enforcement to send out that alert to law enforcement agencies nationwide across the country. I do want to read part of this bulletin from DHS and FBI to our viewers that says, quote, multiple articulated threats and calls for the targeted killing of judicial, law enforcement, and government officials associated with the Palm Beach search. Of course, that's in reference to the FBI's authorized search of the former president's Mar-a-Lago home. I am standing just miles away from that estate. And those threats also, according to the bulletin, included the judge who approved the search warrant. In fact, there was so much concern regarding that judicial official that their biography was removed from the website of the U.S. District Court, Southern District of Florida. And beyond that, threats not only to officials but family members, including, quote, personal identifying information of possible targets of violence, home addresses, identification of who in the family was close to those officials, disseminated online on both encrypted and some open social media platforms.
What do we know, Nicole, about that suspect who attempted to breach the FBI offices in Cincinnati? And what are we getting from the social media footprint, which is always so valuable for investigators?
Yeah, so just hours before 42-year-old Ricky Schiffer did in fact have that standoff with law enforcement outside of FBI's Cincinnati field office, he took to social media, Truth Social, which is actually the social media platform pushed out by the former president's media company. And it was there that he first expressed his desire to, quote, kill FBI agents. He even confirmed his attack, or at least appeared to confirm his attack after the fact, writing, quote, if you don't hear from me, it is true. I tried attacking the FBI, urging others on the platform to get ready for combat following the FBI's authorized search of Mar-a-Lago. We do know that Schiffer, in addition to being a veteran and also a former member of the Florida National Guard, was in or around Washington, D.C. During the Capitol insurrection on January 6, 2021. He was not arrested at that time, according to senior law enforcement officials, but he is believed to have been in Washington, D.C. And speaking with senior law enforcement officers today, what is concerning about this in particular is, he was a resident of Columbus going to what was seemingly a local federal law enforcement outpost. And the concern here, not only about hard targets within Washington, D.C., like the U.S. Capitol, but also law enforcement throughout the country, police departments throughout the country. One official telling me when someone radicalizes to attack law enforcement, they don't have to go very far to find those officers.
Well, let's look at the big picture then. What can be done moving forward to stop threats like this?
Yeah, absolutely. And so there are 18,000 law enforcement agencies nationwide. And what we're hearing right now from federal law enforcement is that even some of these large police departments like New York City, Houston, even in South Florida, Miami, not too far away from where I am now, there are only a handful, maybe 2 to 5 officers as part of those larger police departments that are dedicated to scouring social media for specific credible threats of violence, and that is just not enough. That enables law enforcement to be reactive to some of those online threats, but not proactive. So they are relying on the tips of individuals, the tips that come from social media companies like the likes of Twitter, Meta, etc., in order to go out and suss out the threat. And that is why in so many of these cases of radicalized violence, domestic violent extremists we've seen recently, it's only after the fact that we say there were so many red flags online. What happened? I'm hearing that the resources are just not there. And so also hearing from state and local officials, police departments that say they need the funding in order to take advantage of some of the new federal programs that are being pushed out to train some law enforcement officers on how to really detect and track threats online. In addition to that, a call to the general public to be aware of threats online and to report them not only to social media companies, but also to local and federal law enforcement. And some of the indicators that I've heard from senior law enforcement officials today, individuals who have concrete plans for violent action, amassing of weapons, and of course, saying they're not coming back or issuing goodbyes to family and friends. If any of those sound familiar, law enforcement telling CBS News they want the public to report those kinds of threats.
That's good advice. In West Palm Beach, Florida, Nicole Sganga, we thank you.
Thank you.